There are devastating floods that are happening in Texas. It started over the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, they're reporting over 50 people may be dead. This includes children that are at a camp. So this is a big story here. We want to go ahead and jump in with this clip here from NBC News.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the devastation from catastrophic flash flooding in central Texas growing even more dire. This was the view from above in Kerr County, showing total destruction. Officials saying at least 32 people have been killed after a dangerous surge from the Guadalupe River overwhelmed the entire region, uprooting trees and leaving piles of debris everywhere.
That number has now increased to 50. I'll show you that in just a second here. But as you can see, this is just some of the damage that has happened from the flooding. There were campers also in this area, ladies and gentlemen. Not good for people in Texas. And this is one of those times when we want to point to people like Ted Cruz, right? Who in his interview with Tucker Carlson, he said, like, listen, I'm in Congress to serve Israel or to make sure Israel is great, right? Like, obviously, your number one concern should be the people in Texas. And I'm wondering, like, where are the politicians? Now, Governor Abbott, I believe, has spoken out. This is not the first time I've covered like these types of disasters in Texas on this show. It was about a year or two ago when I covered the ice storm that was happening in Texas. So they are seeing dangerous weather there. And I have to tell people, as someone who lived in the South, flooding is no joke. Like, it's when the water comes in, especially quickly, as you're going to see in one of the time lapse videos. I mean, you have a certain amount of time to get out of that area. But once that water starts coming in, I mean, there's only so much that you can do. And I'm wondering if the people received any warning. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you do get a warning. Sometimes you don't get a warning, especially if it just kind of happens very quickly. Living in the South, we are very accustomed to dealing with like flooding from hurricanes. So like I lived in the Carolinas a couple years ago. And oftentimes there would be flooding from hurricane activity. But I think, you can kind of anticipate that a little bit, but not always, right? Like as we saw the flooding that happened in Asheville, North Carolina, a place where it doesn't flood, people weren't prepared for that. And so I just wonder if there was any type of preparation ahead of time. We may not know. Let's continue.
At the same time, dozens of families are in anguish tonight, desperately searching for at least 27 children who went missing after the water swept through a summer camp. You can see the aftermath in this photo posted today. And the flood threat isn't over yet. Our Ryan Chandler is in hard-hit Kerrville, Texas. Ryan, good evening.
Jose, this is still an active search and rescue operation. We've seen the helicopters flying low above this destroyed riverbank all day, trying to search for survivors. The governor stressing that they are treating all of the missing people as still alive, while the fear for many here is, when does rescue turn into recovery?
In the Texas Hill Country tonight, families hold on to hope as heartbreak overflows. On the broken banks of the Guadalupe River, a trail of death and debris, trees leveled and shredded, families destroyed.
I've never seen tragedy on this level, the destruction that this flood has caused.
The death toll rising with every update. Now,
see how these weather events are getting worse and worse? So at this point, it was 32 people dead, including 14 children. That gentleman there just told you he's never seen it to this level. But see how the weather patterns are getting worse and worse?
32 people dead, including at least 14 children. And tonight, our first look at Camp Mystic, the Christian all-girls retreat devastated. Inside one cabin, bunks and bedding caked in mud. Officials say 27 campers are still missing tonight. And we've learned the identities of 3 girls who died. One of those killed, little Lila Bonner. Her family tells NBC News, "We ache with all who loved her and are praying endlessly for others to be spared from this tragic loss."
Yeah, as someone who was a camp counselor, I can tell you, you only have a certain amount of time to get everybody out of the area. I know when I was a camp counselor at a Girl Scout camp, there were certain things that we did prepare for, like we did prepare for like, a hurricane, like that type of thing. But I mean, that doesn't mean you can always get everybody out as quickly, especially if the water starts coming in very fast. And this is so sad that you have kids that are dead because of the flood. It just, I sincerely wonder what our government is going to do to resolve this and to try to prevent this from happening in the future. They were already talking about, I don't know if everybody knows this, but they were already talking about putting a wall around Seaport in Boston, the Seaport district. They've been talking about that for a couple of years, about making the wall, there already is like a barrier, but making the wall higher for anticipated flooding. Because we've had flooding in Seaport before during like winter storms, but they're talking about the water rising. And so they want to anticipate that and have a higher wall to prevent that from happening. But it's sad, like that there were kids who have died.
Down the river, Patrick O'Malley says his dogs woke him up as water was already to his door.
The water started coming through the flooring, and I just felt the whole house pick up, and been on a lot of boats, and it felt like I was in a boat.
850 people have been rescued so far, officials say.
These are the search and rescue missions frantically searching for anybody who may still be alive. A massive search radius 30 miles downriver.
We will be relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person who's been a victim of this flooding event.
It's like this for miles and miles.
The Guadalupe swelled nearly 30 feet in just about an hour Friday morning.
See how fast that water, that's what I was talking about. Like, it's one thing if it's slower, but once it starts coming in fast like that, there's only so much that you can do.
A holiday escape, now a hellscape. RVs abandoned and homes reduced to shells.
People need to know today will be a hard day. It will be a hard day.
Pretty devastating.
A few hours east near Austin, flash flooding killing at least 3 people today. Officials encouraging people to evacuate in Georgetown, with the San Gabriel River cresting at more than 30 feet.
Ryan, how much more rain could this area get?
Yeah, Jose, it's not over yet. Governor Abbott has expanded the disaster declaration in Texas with more rain still on the way. Areas like Austin and San Antonio, 6 million people, in fact, under flood watches tonight. Some areas got more than 16 inches of rain in the last 24 hours, Jose.
I strongly encourage people that can leave to leave. And this is another thing I do want to mention for evacuations. Sometimes people will see this on the news and they'll say, well, why didn't everybody just leave? Why did people stay? Some people can't afford to leave. There's also the issue with pets, like for people that have dogs and, cats or whatever, like some hotels don't allow pets. That's one issue that I know a friend of mine ran into before during a hurricane warning in North Carolina. She's like, we don't have anywhere to put our dogs, but some families can't afford to leave. I mean, you still have to pay for like the hotel. So not everybody can afford to do that. And that's the unfortunate part. One would think the federal government would intervene here to help them. But this is the reporting coming in now. It says at least 51 dead in Texas floods, with dozens still missing from summer camp. So this one is really scary. 27 campers are missing after the flash floods tore through Texas. They're expanding, obviously, these rescue efforts to try to, look for those individuals that are missing. But this is very sad. I can't imagine being a parent and your child was at summer camp and you don't know if they're accounted for or not. It says that catastrophic flooding struck central Texas yesterday, causing the Guadalupe River near Kerrville to surge by more than 20 to 26 feet within 90 minutes. That's fast, you guys, leading to widespread damage and road washouts. Dozens killed. The death toll rose to 51 people across 5 counties tonight. Goes on to say that there are dozens missing from the camp. Children are missing from Camp Mystic. Right now, that stands at 27. There's a time lapse here. I want to show you how quickly this water came in. Watch this. We have it muted because of the music, but check this out. See how fast the water starts coming in? So you see the people up here, see them starting to move away. You see how fast that water was coming in? So this is what I was saying. Like, then they had to get in the cars and leave. Once that water starts coming like that, there's only so much that you can do. And there's another time lapse here. A guy shared this on X. I want you to see this one as well. And I think he sped it up to where you can see the water coming in right here. But like I said, and then it just goes faster and faster. We'll jump ahead so you can see, because he shows it here as well. So it looks like he was standing on, looks like some type of bridge, maybe like a footbridge, but that water just comes through. See all that? And once it gets on the roads, you're screwed. Like, because, you know, it's like, okay, now we can't drive away from it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. See that? See how the water is crashing up against right there? Yeah, that water gets on that road, you're screwed. And this made me think about something. It made me think about money and resources, folks. Money and resources, right? Because sincerely and hopefully our federal government will have the money and resources to help with search and rescue and repairs in Texas, right? Because see, this person had a really good point. Thank you for sharing this. Liberty Viking says, how much are the flood victims in Texas sending to Israel? Look at this. He said, this is his country. Israel is not his country. And I have to bring this up because, again, it goes back to what Ted Cruz said during that interview with Tucker Carlson, right? He was like, well, I'm there, you know, to help Israel and protect Israel. That was his priority instead of Texas and his constituents in Texas. And we saw this happen before, right? During the ice storm, he was getting on a plane to go to Cancun while people were struggling in Texas. Like I said, these politicians are only there to enrich themselves. They don't really care about the constituents like that. They got money. They're going to be safe. That's all they're really worried about. But we need to talk about how money is allocated. We have continued over the years to see our resources continue to diminish, at least in this country. Our infrastructure is falling apart over and over again. And there's money that needs to be spent to try to prevent these types of storms or protect people from the damage that can come from these types of storms. As you see how that water was about to come up onto that road, there needs to be walling there that's higher to try to prevent that. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to stop everything, right? But our infrastructure in this country is falling apart. We have bridges that are falling apart. We have had multiple weather disasters, whether it was the wildfires in California or Lahaina, whether it was the flooding in Asheville, North Carolina. And I spoke to a friend of mine in Asheville, and I'm here to let you know, some of those people still don't have homes, still don't have anywhere to live. But all of this money is being poured into the Pentagon budget. All of this money is being sent over to Israel. And we have infrastructure that's falling apart in this country. And we have people here that still have not been able to recover from disaster in this country, from weather disasters. So it brings up this question once again about how we are using our funding and how we're using our resources. And we should be prioritizing people here to make things better for people in this country. And we're not doing that. Now, I'm going to sit back and see how long it takes for recovery efforts in Texas, the people who have been impacted by these floods. And I want to mention East Palestine, Ohio, too. Don't want to forget about them. People there are still sick. Still. So what did I tell you? Money being allocated in the wrong places. And we don't have our stuff taken care of here right in the United States. That is a very big problem. And I told you, they don't care about the working people. They don't care about poor people. It's just things happen and people are just like stuck. You're screwed. The most they want to give you is what, $750 from FEMA? But they can give billions to Israel? Not right. Not right at all. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.